there is a flush of serotonin and dopamine and all of these feel-good chemicals. And it's as strong as the same flush that you could get from foods. So a lot of our program centers around triggering and really putting time in your day and a way to kind of constantly be reframing things into a grateful.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Life podcast. Today, I'm very excited to be speaking about a hot topic, probably the hottest topic of all time when it comes to health, and that is weight loss. And we have Liz Josefsberg, a renowned weight loss expert and founder of the Target 100 method. She also authored a book called Target 100 and now has a website called target100.net. She's a 15-year veteran of the weight loss industry who lost and kept off 65 pounds herself. She's coached a diverse clientele of high-profile health speakers over the years. She's also coached thousands of others, everyone from stay-at-home moms to office jockeys. Along the way, she's learned what works and what doesn't when it comes to lasting weight loss and wellness. So, Liz, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start a little bit, I guess, with kind of your journey to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's so important in understanding my methodology and sort of what my whole belief system is that I was overweight from the time I was very young, teenager, overweight, and I struggled for years up and down 30 pounds 5 different times. It graduated to a 50-pound and then a 65-pound weight loss. So I have personally lost hundreds of pounds in my own life, and that perspective has driven my every move in my weight loss expertise and career. It wasn't a job that I went out and sought after. It was something that honestly pulled me in as I was struggling with my weight. My final sort of weight stops was Weight Watchers, where I learned a lot and really fell in love with the process there of being in community and being able to talk to people and learn from other people that I wasn't broken in some way. And I got a job there and ended up working there for 11 years, starting at the lowest level of that company, moving my way up to becoming their celebrity weight loss expert and national spokesperson. So I was helping people like Jennifer Hudson and Charles Barkley, Katie Couric, Jessica Simpson all lose weight. I was on national television as a spokesperson and spent many years on their science team, helping them write and develop their weight loss programs. Wow. So I had this just wonderful education that happened, and I just worked my way up until the highest levels of that company. I stayed there and then I left, and I actually started my own consulting company and started working around the world in weight loss technology and programs in different places, big companies, small companies, startups, but really, really interested in how technology could trigger new behavior for people and teach them the data that would actually help them understand where they wanted to make change. That led to writing my book, Target 100. And from that book, which I had always known was a vision, really, the book was like a platform vision around like how I wanted people to understand weight loss differently and think of it differently than all the other programs that I'd even had a hand in, honestly. I wanted to break the reliance on a system and instead help them with the tools to build their own system. Because I knew as someone who was sustaining my own weight loss, it was because I picked up a bunch of things and made it my own. And I owned it. And I wanted other people to own it. I wanted to not be the reliance, the program that they said, oh, I have to eat this many points or this many, but instead to learn, this is what resonates for me. This is what gives me the most energy. This is what really feels sustainable in my own life. And I saw that everyone in this sphere of successful, sustainable weight loss had done what I had done, which was really do the work, unsexy work of figuring out who you are, what makes sense to you, and then building a life and a program that would be sustainable for you. So that's what Target 100 is.
That's amazing. That's a really amazing story. And I mean, the experience that you got being able to, see firsthand for, well over a decade now, I'm sure you've seen people, lose the weight, gain it back, kind of all sorts of different situations. So yeah, that's a really, really great experience. You also mentioned something that I don't think many people have talked about before, which is community, and that the value of having that support group and community that most people don't even think about. So that's another interesting topic. So I'm curious, like, what is the difference? Because obviously people can go on diet and count calories and lose a bunch of weight, but what's the difference between kind of people who are sustaining more and who are not?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I live it firsthand. I've helped thousands of people lose weight and keep it off for many years, because that's really my claim to fame. That's really what it's all about, is can we break that cycle of weight regain? So much of what I teach is around brain science, and so much of what I try to teach is around diet mentality. And some of the things that have really plagued people in the past are these restrictive systems that are built up, that you feel like you can live within it for a period of time. You don't own it. You didn't write it. You didn't design it. And when you make a mistake, we can even see on an MRI of a brain scan that when you feel guilt and shame about the fact that you didn't follow this program perfectly, you actually kind of, we see the reward system of the brain lit up. So you go and you do more of the thing you didn't want to do. So I'm helping you retrain your brain away from that reward system, and understanding that, for me, the people that have really had long-standing sustainable weight loss are the people that don't think of it as a food-based program, which is all that diets ever are, right? It's like food. You just, it's 80% food. So for me, Target 100 is a 6-pillared program, and all 6 pillars are equal. So yes, we're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about water and hydration, movement patterns, so everyday movement patterns, exercise, of course, stress, and sleep. And the example that I like to give around this is, like, let's just take sleep, something that you may have never heard anyone talk about in a weight loss program, and put front and center and have you really track it and see the difference in your eating patterns on a day that you sleep well versus a day you don't. All of a sudden, people's eyes are open to the fact that these are interconnected, these pillars. On a night that they don't sleep well, we teach that there are hormones that get flushing into your body that literally make you hungrier the next day. And we joke that you're not hungrier for baby carrots, right? You're hungrier for salt, sugar, and fat. Now, right. You don't really know that. You don't know that these hormones have gone out, and you feel like you're out of control. You go, and now I woke up late because I didn't sleep well. I blew off my exercise because I didn't sleep well. And when we exercise, there are other hormones that actually help us eat healthier and crave healthier foods. So now we blew off our exercise. There's hormones. There's less adherence. We didn't sleep well. We're definitely likely not going to stick to the quinoa and grilled chicken for lunch, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've seen, it's just such a beautiful system. When you think of this 6-pillar approach, I've seen people truly. I have a woman in my program now who she lost 30 pounds off the top, never thinking about food. She focused on hydration, movement. So she really focused on moving more throughout the day, and sleep. Mm-hmm. And with those 3 pillars, saw that. And when she was ready to kind of come into that food pillar, so we give you sort of 6 ways to win. So there's never that sort of punitive, restrictive. It's all about layering up and adding in a great new habit and focusing on that, right? So if we're focused on the sleep pillar, let's just say, knowing that you really are trying to perhaps stop that second Netflix show, getting triggers in your life that help you get upstairs and get to bed on time, and seeing the benefit of that. So it's a really different approach. It's 6 equal pillars,
Interesting. So what are all 6 of those pillars?
So food, hydration, movement,
Yeah.
So that's everyday movement, exercise, stress, and sleep.
Got it.
So, and what we've built at Target 100 is a way to actually track them through Bluetooth. So you can use devices. So we actually send out a box for people who want one that has a tracker that tracks your steps and your exercise and your sleep. We have a Bluetooth enabled water bottle that measures your hydration. And then we have a body composition scale that's looking at your body composition, because as we lose weight, sometimes it looks like we're not losing weight, but we are. We're just losing body fat and picking up lean muscle.
Right.
So this helps people stay in the game. And by tracking all of that data, sort of where I'm telling you is like, we're bringing people to these aha moments that, you know, my day, I may have to exercise 5 times a week and do 10,000 steps a day and get 8 hours of sleep. But you might only need 3 exercise sessions a week and 7,000 steps and 7 hours of sleep. The data tells that story when you start to look at it. So that's, we're really trying to help people understand their own personal formula. So that's our real differentiator, is we're not a one size fits all cookie cutter, and we are all about community.
I love that. Yeah. So let's talk about that while you just mentioned it about community, because you mentioned that was one thing that I hadn't realized actually what a big part of the Weight Watchers thing that was a community. So talk a little bit about the kind of the benefits you saw both at Weight Watchers and now at Target 100 with kind of having a community and building the community and things of that nature.
Yeah. I think, you know, it started there sort of in that room where at Weight Watchers, where I sort of had that aha moment of like, most of us will read a diet book or go and get a plan or a program and go into a silo and just kind of there. When you lose weight, believe it or not, there are a lot of hormones that begin to shift, and most of them shift towards negative self-talk, towards the release of cortisol, towards things that make it very hard to stick to. But when you are in community, and there is tons of research that supports this, you are much more likely to be successful long-term at weight loss. Because again, there are those moments where we believe that we have messed up in some way and that process is now over. There's a lot of on and off, all or nothing thinking in weight loss, and we're trying to erase that at Target 100. You know, we're really all about dropping perfectionism, understanding that a mistake is not the end of the world, thinking about weight loss in the way that you think about everything else. You know, if I make a mistake in my job, I go and I try to do better. I don't quit my job. You know, right. we joke, right? If you dropped one egg out of a dozen, you wouldn't go throw the other 11 on the floor. Right. But in weight loss, that is the tendency. So again, like understanding that a community helps you see things differently. They give you ideas. You know, our community, it's constantly this positive feedback loop of you did. Okay, you had a cookie, but you didn't kill anybody and it's not the end of the world. And let's like have a great day tomorrow and let it go. Because the faster you let it go, the less guilt and shame get going, the less the reward system gets triggered. So we've created this wonderful place. And that's really what's so important is what I always say about people in weight loss is like they're a horse with blinders on. They really just are looking at one thing and it's all very myopic. And when you bring in community, all of a sudden you get ideas from people, recipes from people, you meet friends, you start to trade, just all of these different things. I've got people in my community. It's all virtual. My whole thing is a virtual program. Mm-hmm. They're traveling together now. They're dear friends. They trust one another. You know, weight loss is an intimate process and it's filled with doubt and it's filled with fear. And when you can become vulnerable in community and let yourself really listen and talk, because there is a ton of research around the fact that most people learn when they are speaking. So by opening up a community, and our community is virtual, but it's on Zoom, and everyone is talking to one another. This is not a chat group. This is a live virtual group. And when, you will remember 75% of what you say and only 25% of what someone else says.
Mm.
So by speaking about your challenges or what's going on, you learn more. So you do better.
Yeah. This is really great. I love this stuff. I always think about like the psychology of health or whatever you want to call it. Like why, people know, exercise more, don't eat junk food, right? Like, people know like what to do. So why don't more people do it, right? Why do we have this big problem right now, with so much obesity and overweight, so I think this is really important. I'm fascinated by like what the difference is. Have you kind of learned any things about kind of the psychology there?
Yeah, that's really, they call me the food therapist, I think this is so much about psychology. I think it's so much about examining patterns and behaviors. A lot of what we're teaching is to examine everything you do, because everything you do is a habit. Our brains don't have space for us to make a lot of decisions in a day. And so you go through these habitual patterns, and they're not just physical patterns, like the way we brush our teeth, or if you watched me come down and drink my coffee, you would be horrified. I do exactly the same thing. And I go get the spoon, and then I get the milk, and then I pour it, and I stir it 3 times, and I sit in the same corner of the couch. Those are habit patterns. Some of them serve us, and some of them don't serve us, right? So understanding, that you've created patterns, and they could be physical or they could be mental and emotional. Thought patterns, thoughts are triggers. So if you have a belief system that you did just eat that cookie and now you've ruined everything, and you go on a 3-day bender, right? Then that is just a triggered thought loop. You had a trigger of eating something that you've deemed bad. You go into a routine of spiraling because that's what you've done in the past. And the brain says, oh, just like sitting in the corner of the couch, you had the cookie, we had the bad thought. Now let's spiral and let's get what we want, because the brain loves sugar, and dopamine and serotonin get, going when you eat these high fat, high salt foods. So really, as they say, again, like I believe that when you do the work of thinking about your patterns in your life. And I always say this, I've changed more people's lives by moving furniture in their house or having them come in a different door, right? Because wow, I had a guy who used to come in the side door of the house. He had a pattern. He's not even conscious of it because this is what he does every day. It's sort of like driving to work and you get there and you don't know how you got there, right? This is what the brain does. It shuffles patterns into the back. You're not conscious. Comes in the side door, goes straight to the fridge, eats about 500 calories worth of little bites of things, and then goes up and takes his work clothes off and de-stresses from the day. So we put a big red X on the back door, which meant, oh, shoot, don't go in here, go in the front door. He went upstairs, had a glass of water, and changed out of his work clothes and avoided that pattern and changed his life, because he realized what he was looking for from that food was a decompression between work and home. And it was giving him this escape and this release. And when he could get that same thing by coming in a different door and going upstairs and breathing, getting in his, comfortable clothes and having some water. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, this isn't about you going to Weight Watchers and having a specific number of points, because you can be told all day long, I need to eat 1,200 calories, or I have to have my points. What you're talking about is this gap between action and intention.
Right.
And everybody thinks they're broken or something's wrong with them, that they're like, how is it that I just keep doing these things? Until we're willing to assess the patterns, behaviors, and thoughts, and really kind of find out what's triggering us, Another example is just like people believe if they go to a party, they have to overeat because that's what they've done in the past. They can't have fun. They can't enjoy themselves unless they're going hog wild, right? And so they just repeat that over and over until it's like, oh, now I'm scared to even go to a party because I'm on a diet and I don't know how to handle myself. And so when we really examine that and go like, it's not about the food, like, it's about the social enjoyment and how do we do the right tactics, strategies, and work on our thought processes to break these habits down.
Yeah, that's really good. I love this stuff. I'm really fascinated also with like belief systems and identity. I got certified in neuro-linguistic programming, 15 years ago or something like that, where there's a lot of talk about beliefs and mindsets and identity. I actually recorded an episode a long time ago called Changing Your Identity and Belief System Around Health, right? Nice. And so people who are like thinking about or talking, people who have, I guess, an identity of, I can't, my parents were unhealthy. I always ate this way, or I can't change, or that's just the way I am, or, whatever this belief system is, and how you can change that belief system. Right. And like you said, your words are very important, right? If you say, someone can say, I'm not, someone could have smoked a cigarette, but then 5 minutes later, they could say, I'm not a smoker. I'm not a smoker anymore. That was in the past. I can change my identity, change my belief system, change what I'm saying about myself. So I'd love to hear, if you have any other like examples of like belief systems or things like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. I mean, and this is everything. I love that we're talking about this because that it's a troubling time in weight loss, right? Like where we're going into a space where a lot of pharmaceuticals are jumping in here and a lot of people, I just kind of want to take a second. I'm excited about some of these pharmaceuticals and I think they're, again, a tool in a toolbox for people. But what I think is happening in our environment, and I love that you're talking about this because I do something called the levels of change, and you may have seen this diagram in your studies. Our outermost level of change is our environment, right? So when I'm teaching someone in week 1 or week 2 to lose weight, I say, your very easiest level of change is to get the food out of your house, to bring some stuff in, to be around an environment where you're not tested every time you come downstairs. Am I going to eat it or am I not going to eat it? Right. So we start on the environment level. Once we change our environment, say we get the cookies out of there and we don't eat the cookies after dinner on the couch, we go, look at me. I believe I'm sort of doing this, right? We have this like capable, we go down a couple levels of change and we go, okay, so it's not about me being broken. There are these strategies and tactics I can use. So I go from, okay, I'm doing this. I see this. I actually feel capable of this. Then that sort of deeper level is your belief system. And what's upsetting for me now is that with this sort of step in of the pharmaceuticals and some of the media that's coming around it is, it's your genetics. You're broken. You need this in order to be successful. And I think people, because I am one of those people and I can speak to it, the physical, mental, and emotional pain that I went through in the repetitive weight loss cycle was awful. And for someone to give, I wanted every day for someone to tell me there's a pill or yes, it is something that's wrong with you personally. And I think that belief system in people after yo-yoing in through these restrictive programs that are not holistic and they're not teaching you, they're not educational, they're not supported community-wise, has hurt people's spirit to the point where they believe that they need to go and inject a pharmaceutical into them to have success because, and then we go 100 miles back out to the environment where no one is talking about the fact that just 50 years ago, we didn't have this problem.
Right.
But now we have sedentary lifestyles and fast food and high, chemicals in our foods and things that make it hard to stop eating. We have a system in place. This is not from the time where we were, cavemen.
Right.
As I say, I'm in no way bashing this, but what I believe is like that belief system is crumbling for people every day. And if we talk about your belief, if you don't believe that you are capable of this, you're going to behave very, very differently. Right. So if we can't get you to a space, and that is everything Target 100 does, and I will look people in the eye and I go, I know you can. And they're like, that was a moment for them to go, someone believed that I could do this when I didn't believe. I believe in everyone. And I believe that these pharmaceuticals can be a wonderful tool. But if you're going to take that on top of it, you have to be doing the work that I'm talking about. Because the second that you stop taking that thing, you will not have the skills and the weight will come back. So I am a huge proponent of pairing up, whatever it is that you're going to take, because you have to build your belief system. You have to build your habit formation patterns, because the final level of change, and you know this, after you believe, you change your identity.
Right.
That final crust layer, and it takes a long time. I will tell you, Talor, I lost 65 pounds and believed for up to, I'd say 10 years that they were going to come right back, that I was broken. I'd yo-yoed my whole life. I thought of myself, my identity is I am a person who struggles with my weight.
Wow.
When you have that as your belief system and your identity, you behave some different way. Then It took work, it took time. And now I believe I am a person who lives at a healthy weight, evolves over time through different decades, through different, understandings of myself. I mean, if you looked at how I maintain my weight today versus even a year ago, it's very different, because this is an active process that's constantly changing with weather, with seasons, with job changes, with travel, with, all of the things that happen. So my passion is to share with people that this can be really interesting and really fun, and it can drive you to a deeper understanding. It can be joyful. It's transformative. Yes. When you do it the right way, it's transformative.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the most joy, I guess, sense of pride, joy, happiness, a lot of it comes from doing hard things, from overcoming things that you didn't think you could overcome. So I completely agree. I also really like that you brought up the prescription. Actually did an episode a couple of months ago also about the prescription weight loss drug craze that's going on right now. I know guys who literally, I wouldn't even consider them overweight, and they just want to lose 10 pounds for the summer, and they're using these, prescription. It's kind of like, and they even said, one of them said in a chat, like cheat code or something like that. But but it's like, also though, that the problem, there's a couple issues that we're seeing. Number one is, the first point is exactly what you said, is that, are you going to take this for the rest of your life? Because as soon as you stop, if you're not doing anything differently to work on your mental, on your mindset and everything else, then you're just going to gain the weight right back as soon as you stop, right? That's one. And for some people, they end up actually being even in a worse situation, because what happens is, with these weight loss drugs, you actually are losing a higher proportion of muscle than you would doing it the healthy way, doing it the natural way. You're actually losing a higher proportion of muscle in kind of comparison and ratio to the fat. And so let's say you lose 20 pounds, but 10 pounds was muscle and 10 pounds was fat, compared to if you lose 20 pounds and, 2 pounds were muscle and 18 pounds were fat, right? It's a big difference. And then if you gain the weight back on, now you went back to your normal weight with 10 pounds less muscle. So you're probably in a worse situation.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because that is the side effects that we're starting to see now, is that because this shuts down that portion of the brain that makes you hungry and sort of really, you just don't want to eat. We're seeing people malnourished, totally malnourished, like having bone density problems, losing massive lean muscle. Whereas this is the thing, is once you do go off of that, because here's the truth about this. This stuff is expensive on top of it. It's not cheap. So are you looking at $1,000 a month for the rest of your life? As a healthcare system, trillions of dollars. If we were to treat all the people, it would break our healthcare system. Right. It would break it. And the problem is to look at putting the percentage of people on it and then the years and years out from that. It's not a sustainable solution for people. Right. So, and knowing that, learning about your physical body, and when you lose lean muscle like that, building it back is a very, very hard thing to do. And lean muscle is what burns calories at rest. So right. These people come off of this with a lower metabolism. Right. They are then regaining that weight in epic speed. Right. Epic speed. And this comes from, some of this research started many years ago when they realized that like 95% of the Biggest Losers were gaining on that old show, Biggest Losers were regaining. So they studied these people, and by restricting their calories and amping their movement for so long, right, they reset their metabolism to taking in and needing to take in between 600 and 700 calories less per day than someone who had not done a very highly restrictive, low calorie diet like that. Wow. So we know better, right? Yeah. That's my problem, is we know better how, but that's it. I said, like, I'm not sexy. Like, you come to Target 100 when you are ready to change your life. Like, when you're ready, honestly, because we ask you to do the introspection, and we help you. We're there every single step of the way. But if you want real change, I mean, we all know shortcuts rarely work, right. Right. And I will caveat this medication is going to save lives, right? I really want to make clear that I'm a fan of this. It's a tool, but really thinking through the long-term effect of this and pairing it with some sort of behavior modification program and community is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for those listening that aren't fully familiar, Ozempic and the semaglutide, other semaglutides, I believe they're called, and they're usually injectable, right? Almost always you have to inject them into yourself, and then they kind of curb your appetite. They have other side effects as well. For people that are really overweight, right? I think that's where these are really can be beneficial. If someone's, 50, 100 pounds overweight, something like that, it could really help kickstart things. But again, without the community and the mental programming and the actual change, you could just gain it right back. So it's really important. I love what you're saying. I love everything that you're saying about this, about this psychology and how you're working with people and really working on their mindset and building this community and having people to be accountable, right? So if it's like, now you're in this community, you're going to think twice about, eating something if you're going to have to report it to the community or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's a fantastic group of people. Again, just the tone, I think you can probably pick up from me. The tone is kindness. The tone is really working towards that kindness to yourself. It works wonders when you say, like, what is that? That's almost like the intangible piece is learning how to be kinder to yourself after usually years of punishing and negative self-talk and all of that. And then really pairing it with 6 pillars and a group of people who are all on this journey together and, a like-minded community.
Yeah, I love that. I know you talked about stress as one of the pillars as well, right? How do you work with people on stress? Because people might say, oh, I'm stressed out, but, and I guess we know about the benefits of getting good sleep and recovering and things like that, meditation. But is there anything else that people could take away in terms of stress?
Yeah, stress is, I always say it's the pillar for me. It's just that one that shocks people when they recognize, again, the hormonal shifts that occur when you are in a stress state. I mean, there is an adrenaline rush, and then there is a cortisol drop that occurs. You have to think about stress as something that helped us, right? Like if it was stressful to be chased by a tiger and we needed that adrenaline to run away from that stressful situation. And then that cortisol dropped into a system that said, oh gosh, we just used a little body fat to run away from that tiger, and then makes you very much hungrier. So stress is something that does make us, again, crave foods that are bad for us. And when I help people, so Target 100, the book, everyone says, like, what is that 100 piece? I ask people to eat about 100 grams of carbs a day, drink about 100 ounces of water a day. And you hear me saying about, because everything is ish, because you may find out that you're more on the 80 to, 80 ounces is better for you. 100 minutes of movement in a week, 100 minutes of exercise, 100 extra minutes of sleep, and 100 minutes of stress relief. When we get to that pillar and I'm educating them on how to get stress relief in their day, the biggest thing I want people to understand is we live in a constant stress state now. Just everything in our lives is heightened. It is stressful. It is meant to be that way because it does get our attention. So that stress has just gone up and up and up. When you are in a stress state, it does not turn off by itself. It's like a car idling in the driveway. It just stays on. And you may not even feel it because you've become accustomed to that stress level that you live in. In fact, a lot of my people are addicted to it. When we get right down to it, they're like, I don't like this. You're asking me to like sit for 10 minutes and close my eyes. Like, I don't like this, right? Like you're asking me to go out and take a walk in nature. So we work really hard to help people come off of that, because if you don't turn it on, it literally keeps running. So it will keep making you hungrier and hungrier. It will disrupt your sleep, when we already talked about what that does, right? It will, and the cortisol and all of these different hormones, I mean, just getting pumped into your system that make you crave food that does release serotonin. So it's very smart that you would eat these like, high sugar, high salt, high fat foods, because they actually do secrete serotonin and help you to feel better. So you've been using food as stress relief. We're asking you to replace the food, and it doesn't need to be meditation, right? Again, like we really have to work to think. I don't meditate. I can't do it. But I love breath work, and I love yoga, and I love walking in nature, and I love reading, right? So those are mine. Figuring out what yours are, the things that you love to do versus the things that you're like, I cannot do that one more day because the experts said I need to meditate, right? Right. So I think stress has been highly, I mean, when you look at COVID, how stressful was that? And our country gained like 30% more weight, everyone. Right? Like I had to figure out my weight in COVID because of the high stress. And now I was sedentary, whereas I used to go into the city every single day. Now I was sedentary, and my whole environmental life changed overnight. So again, we start with environment. And I looked around my environment and said, how do I regain some movement? How do I reduce my stress levels? How do I think about food in this new life that I live at home, when I'm food is readily available in a fridge and a pantry all day, every day. Whereas in the office, I brought my lunch, and that was lunch, and I didn't have anything to contend with, right? So thinking through the stressful, usually when I'm working with people again, and we're kind of thinking back through their weight regains, they can almost always be tracked back to a stressful occurrence that happened for them.
Interesting.
And it could be a job loss. It could be a divorce. It could be a sick child. It could be a parent lost, and you go, oh my gosh. Yeah. The stress of that took me down. I started using food, right? So if we don't address our stress levels, weight regain is going to be on the table.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating topic too, because, it's really mental, right? It's all the stress is mental one way or another, right? Some people, what's stressful for, Elon Musk might not be stressful for some, or vice versa, right? So it's really interesting. So that's why I think I also like how you give leeway, and it's not a one size fits all. You got to find what works for you, and there's different approaches. I think that's really important as well, because there's a lot of people, like you say, that just they don't enjoy meditating. They don't like to meditate, right? I do think that some sort of quiet time, introspective time, I think is very, very important. I think there's no question. I think there's like a famous old quote about, all of man's problem come from his inability to sit alone in a room or something like that, right? Or all of people's problems, So I think that's important. And I practice quiet time, typically every Monday through Friday, in the mornings. I'll have my cup of coffee. I'll try to go outside, get a little sunlight, do some breathing, things of that nature, and do my gratitude visualizations, things of that nature. And really sometimes I'm there and just thinking, without the distraction. I won't bring my phone out there, or if I do, I'll keep it on airplane mode in case I want to just email myself some idea that came to my mind. But that quiet time for me is really, really important. And I think it's a game changer compared to just, if I was to just wake up and start working right away,
I love that you mentioned gratitude. There again, when we see a brain under an MRI scan and someone is practicing gratitude, there is a flush of serotonin and dopamine and all of these feel-good chemicals. And it's as strong as the same flush that you could get from foods. So a lot of our program centers around triggering and really putting time in your day and a way to kind of constantly be reframing things into a grateful frame. Yeah. And I just love that you mentioned that. If people could take that away, it is so much what we're getting from these foods is the serotonin and dopamine drop. You can manufacture that. And gratitude needs to be simple. I have a lot of people who do gratitude with guilt. They say, oh, I should be grateful because I have enough food, or I should be grateful because I love and I have my house, you have to remove the should. You have to go with pure gratitude for just the sunny day it's not raining today. It's beautiful. The humidity dropped. I was out on my run this morning doing my gratitudes. I do it all at the same time, I'm running and I'm looking around going, I'm just so grateful the humidity dropped and I'm able to run and my body lets me do this amazing thing right now. And I get, this huge flush of like, how lucky am I? Day is great. You don't need things when you feel truly grateful. You don't need that extra thing that it drops.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. Well, Liz, this has been really amazing. It's been one of my favorite podcast recordings. It's definitely right up there with any of my other favorites. I really enjoy these conversations. I really think that the psychology is everything when it comes to these kind of things. So I highly would encourage anyone who is, looking to lose weight right now. I highly recommend that they go seek you out, check out your Target 100 program. What's the best place for people to follow you and find you?
Yeah, target100.net is our website. We have a app that is launching in the App Store. It's called Target 100 Companion, and it allows you to track your 6 pillars and be in our community. It is a free app. We do courses. We're very famous for our courses that we will do. I lead courses myself. I have coaches. We lead courses in the fall. So everything, if you heard stuff here that you liked, you're starting to hear the education that you get in our 10-week courses as well. So, and my name is Liz Josefsberg. It's a funny spelling. If you're looking for me on social media, I'm everywhere, but it's a Josef like Frank, S like Sam, Berg. So Josefsberg, if you're looking for me, please reach out. I think I'd love for you guys all to come on in and learn from us.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely have my full endorsement. Just everything you've said here today on the podcast is really incredible. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for helping so many people and really getting down to the, going deep with things, right? There's so many surface level things, but you're really going deep, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for everything you're doing. And it was an honor to have you on the podcast here today. Hope we could do it again soon.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, can you please leave us a rating or review and subscribe? I've realized that while we have actually increased our downloads a lot, we're actually getting a lot of downloads, which I'm really happy about. We actually have very few ratings. And I realized that I've never asked people really to rate much. So I'm asking you now if you could please rate and review and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to anyone that you think will get value out of this. Also, if you haven't checked out our line of products at buypeakperformance.com, you get 20% off your first order. That's www.buypeakperformance.com. We have some incredible products, including our organic high-altitude coffee. If you don't know this, coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed with pesticides out of any crop. So it's really important that you drink organic coffee. We've gone above and beyond to source what we believe is the highest quality and healthiest organic coffee in the world. We're also famous for our organic green superfood powder. You can get 20% off of that as well at buypeakperformance.com. We also have an organic vegan and paleo plant protein. See, most of the vegan proteins out there are using brown rice protein, which is really not a good source of protein, and it's also a grain. And if you're paleo, you know that grains tend to cause inflammation in some cases for some people. And so we wanted to make one that was paleo friendly and vegan and organic. We made an amazing amino acid profile, so it's really one of the best plant proteins for muscle building. So you can check out Peak Performance Organic Plant Protein. You can find that on our website. Of course, all our products are on Amazon as well. So thanks again. And again, please, if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to someone who you feel can get value out of it. And please leave us a rating, review, and subscribe. Thank you.